This is a pre-tape. It's a holiday on Monday, the 25th, I think, here in the United
But
States. So we're
what's
pre-taping
the
this on
point?
Thursday.
The
The
days
point of
don't mean
holidays?
anything.
Well, it's still on the calendar.
So I mean, what are you going to be doing on Monday? I'll tell you what I'm doing.
I can
I'll be
tell you
sat
what I'm
right
not
here.
doing. A podcast.
But you'll be right there. We could have done it then.
No, instead of sitting here, I'll be sitting there, like right, just off camera on that side.
Days don't mean anything. Holidays don't mean anything.
They absolutely do, especially for people who are literally in meetings and recordings all day, every day. To not have those on one day of the week would be fantastic.
Plus,
It's called Saturday and Sunday.
It means nothing to us, but there are still plenty of people who do have to go into work.
Exactly.
It makes sense for the people who are actually going to the office. We're all not, though. That's why I'm confused as to why we're observing holidays.
I read an interesting, kind of scary article this morning on the New York Times. It said as people go back to work, like you go back to your building that, office buildings have been empty for a couple of months, that because the buildings have sat unused and like plumbing has been unused for several months, that they're not designed for that. So there's a risk of buildings not working right or people catching Legionnaire's disease when you go back to a building.
What is Legionnaire's disease?
It's like a bacterial infection that's highly contagious.
What, it like comes from the toilet up your butt?
It could come through from stagnant water.
Because the toilets are sitting full of stagnant water right now all across America. So so you come back from work and you get with your COVID, and then you get Legionnaire's disease. Right. And then because none of us have been eating healthy, everybody also gets rickets.
Oh my god. So basically, we should assign one person to go flush all the toilets at Rooster Teeth, like once or twice a month.
So can you imagine if your company occupied an entire skyscraper and you just had to go from each floor, flushing all the bogs to the whole building?
Legionnaire's disease is a form of atypical pneumonia caused by a type of bacteria. The signs and symptoms include cough, shortness of breath, fever, muscle pains, headaches. The bacteria.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, good. So we won't get it confused at all.
The bacteria is found naturally in fresh water. It can contaminate hot water tanks, hot tubs, cooling towers of air conditioners, and it's spread by breathing in the mist that contains the bacteria.
Oh, don't
and like public bathrooms don't have the lid on the toilet, so you can't keep that they just spray poop flakes everywhere.
Oh god.
And all that plumbing is designed to have water run in it. If you have like a drain that's sat dry for a long time, that's not good. Like the gaskets dry out and could be bad.
Honestly, the worst thing for any building is for it to not be used. Nature just reclaims it eventually. If it's not constantly being agitated and stuff. I've had that with a house that I didn't live in for a bit when I had two because I was filming at one. All the toilets dried up and went minging. Mm-hmm. All of the cabinets got stuck shut. So when I pulled them open, it ripped all the paint off. Same with some of the doors. It's if you're not using a place, you need to spend money on it to fix it. It's crazy.
That's insane. I guess that's how places deteriorate so quickly and abandoned areas and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My God. That was a great start to my morning to load up the New York Times and be like, oh, I didn't even consider that.
So you either stay home and avoid the virus, or go to work and potentially get the virus and this other disease from your minging toilet water.
I should. I'll forward that article to our facilities team and go to and make sure everything's okay.
Why is it called Legionnaire's disease?
The first time it was identified.
What's a Legionnaire?
It sounds like an airline.
Yeah, it sounds like a pilot. Just something you get a lot. Yeah.
It was like the American Legion I think had a big outbreak of it, and that's where it was discovered and then named. Let me find out. Name. The disease is named after the outbreak where it was first identified at a 1976 American Legion convention in Philadelphia.
We are Legion.
Nice.
So there you go.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum. Whatever that song is.
So I don't know what just happened.
Can't wait.
We all got sidetracked by the catchy Farmers song.
But yeah, so we were talking about how we were pre-recording this. Today is Thursday. Gus and we just got off of
we were busy.
2 hours, 2 hour D&D stream, and Gus even before that was on a 1 hour gaming stream too. So Gus, you've been in content literally nonstop
all day. I had a 15-minute break where I was able to eat a sandwich, and then right before we started here, I had another 15-minute break where.
Wait, you guys were in a bunch of content all day and then went straight into podcast?
Yeah, it's crazy. We also do that on Mondays too. Just
Except the podcast is usually at 5, so you go for an additional 2.
Yeah. So we'll, at least I don't know. Maybe we should do. Does anybody have plans? Is anybody going to do anything on Monday to celebrate your day off?
Yes, because Monday is.
Go ahead, Barb. I'm going to sleep for as long as I fucking can. Like,
yeah,
until noon, 1 p.m.
Can you do that? I feel like there's always something going on that wakes me up. Like, just people being loud just out in the world.
Or your 4 cats now?
Well, the cats actually don't wake me up too much. It's usually like, someone's got a leaf blower going.
I'll be awake.
Got a circular grinder.
I'll be awake. I just won't get out of bed. Like, it'll just be like trips to go get more coffee, and then just thinking about how gross I feel in my bathrobe.
I have a thing where Benjamin does not let me sleep in anymore. Now, when it's about time, when I normally wake up, like around 7:30, 7:15, 7:30 in the morning, he just comes over next to the bed and starts making noise next to me to try to get me to get out of bed. I don't know why. It's not like we're going to go do anything. I take him out, and then he just comes to the living room and sleeps. It's like he just gets tired of sleeping in one room and wants to sleep in a different room. He's sleeping right now.
I know that your dog's name is Benjamin, but you phrased that story as though it could have been your roommate, and it made it so much better. Of like, he just comes in my room and stares at me, and he just sleeps all the fucking time.
He just makes noises next to my bed.
Just a grown man, just like, hey, take me outside.
Barbara, how much for you to get a dog and name it Trevor?
50 grand.
Oh,
I feel like we could scrape that together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if anyone's ever been paid 50 grand to get a dog. I have to supply it?
No, Barbara, you have to supply the dog.
That's fine. I could buy any dog I want with that money. I could buy a horse if I wanted to.
That's not a dog.
Just kidding. I would adopt anyway. So, but
nice.
For Monday, I realized sadly today that I was like, oh, nice 3-day weekend, but it's actually like 1.5 day weekend. So, even less weekend than I usually get because Sunday we're doing a convention. Me and the Ruby girls were doing an online convention that lasts from about 1 to 5 or 6 p.m. that day.
Online, right?
All online, yeah. So it's like a virtual panel and then virtual meet and greets and all that stuff. By the time this comes out, it'll have happened already. But that's like the entirety of my Sunday gone. And then we're also streaming on Saturday, doing some gaming stuff. So that's another.
Look at that hustle.
Yeah, so Monday is going to be my one actual full weekend day, which is I'm really happy that happens.
How do they wrap up a virtual meet and greet? Like, does each person get an allotted amount of time, and is there like a third person in the chat with you being like, "Let's go, like wrap it up"?
So thankfully, I only did it once so far, but yeah. So it's a 2-minute time limit. I always end up going over because it's impossible to have any worthwhile conversation with someone for 2 minutes.
Sure.
So we end up going along, but there is a moderator in the call with you who essentially like comes on and be like, all right, guys, start to wrap it up. Or I could also like type with them and say like, hey, like let this one extend a little bit more. But
yeah, 2 minutes is kind of, because you got to say hello and goodbye. That leaves you with maybe like 90 seconds of decent conversation. It's like speed dating everyone.
Yeah, it is so much more exhausting than you could ever anticipate. I did the one I did last time. It was still like amazing to get to meet people and have that experience, especially like not only during quarantine and the situation to allow that to happen, but there's plenty of people who don't go to conventions because of anxiety or disability or whatever it is that doesn't allow them to attend in person. So this allows those people to actually get that experience because of quarantine. So that's kind of cool. But it is. So we did 2 hours of the meet and greets last time, and it was all my energy was absolutely gone by the time it ended. So I was like, I hope I was still fun and entertaining to the people who.
Yeah, because you want to give like the same energy to everyone and not sort of trail off towards the end, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what makes like stuff like RTX so exhausting for us is like we want to be able to give full energy to every single person we meet and like every panel we're on. And so you kind of put any exhaustion to the side to just kind of go into this mode of meet and greet where you have unlimited energy and like are trying to like provide everyone the same amount. And so by the end of it, you're absolutely pooped.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about like if I have a particularly busy Monday, if we're in like 5 or 6 Let's Plays throughout the day and then I have to sprint from the Let's Play to the podcast. then we do the post show, and afterwards I just have like a hard crash. I'm just like, oh god, I just melt down and do nothing for the rest of the night.